Hello, and welcome to this new section called Postscript. So, what is this Postscript? So, we on in this course on building excellence in interpersonal skills. So, we created this course couple of months back, many months back, and since then we have been reviewing it with ourselves, with some of our people who work with us, some of the interns, and some feedback from people like you. And we realized that we could add few things that were originally not covered in this course. So this is this section, like typically we write in an email or a letter, something that we forget and we want to write later on. So this is the postscript section. So in this postscript section, what we're going to do is to share with you a few more things that can help you build excellence in interpersonal skills. And in this lecture, we will talk about how can you create a good first impression in a new relationship. And the first new impression is typically formed within the 7 seconds of first interaction, and how you speak, how do you carry yourself out, how do you dress yourself makes that first impression. So we'll talk about how can you create a good first impression. So let's talk about what's your thoughts on how can you create that first good impression in a new relationship, whether it's a social relationship. Let's talk about mostly social relationship. So any thoughts on that? So what we suggest is to follow what is called our gold standard in communication. And what is that standard? Let's look at that gold standard. This gold standard is covered in a lot more detail with more examples, more exercises in another course called Excellence in Communication, as you see here in the center. And it consists of 6 key components of this gold standard. You begin by building rapport and trust. You then also take care of visibility tuning or non-verbal posturing, listening and understanding to the other person, thinking and building the right content in how you respond. Then you respond and you confirm whether you have responded. So these are the components of the gold standards. Let's take a look at each of these in detail. So how can you build rapport and trust? That's the most important thing in building the first impression. So first thing is to present yourself appropriately to the situations and people. So you need to figure out what is appropriate for the situation and people, and what is the best way to figure that out is to ask what is the right dress code. Like I've done this many times. If I have to go for a meeting, if I don't have a clear idea of how should I dress, I ask the people who are organizing the meeting, hey, what is the dress code? And this I learned from Johnson & Johnson, because every meeting or every social gathering, we used to be very clear defined a dress code. Is it casual? Is it smart casual? Is it suit and tie? Or it could be Bermudas as well. Then in the conversation with other person, to build the quick impression, first impression, you need to be relaxed in yourself. There's nothing like being yourself. The more artificial you are, most you're going to create a bad impression. So be yourself and relax, be relaxed. Be courteous and attentive. You need to look into eye, how to be attentive. We'll talk more in the nonverbal part in the next lecture. But be courteous. Courtesy gets courtesy, attention gets smart. And start a small talk. What is this small talk? And I learned this over many years, basically courtesy Volkswagen. And they use this beautifully to sell cars to the customers. And so do Maruti now. So you start with talking about few things that you inquire about the welfare of the person. Hey, how you been? Is there anything that I can do for you? How's the weather? Did you have a good night's sleep? Was your flight comfortable? So you ask these questions. That is also called breaking the ice questions. Then if you are meeting in a place, in an office, wait till you are offered a seat. And if you are offered a drink, accept it and say thank you. There's no better word than saying thank you. It expresses your gratitude and builds that rapport and trust that you need. Then you might have few things in common. You're sitting in a room, you're looking around, and you say a nice painting and say, hey, you like paintings? I also like paintings. So that builds rapport. Same things that we do, that others do, and others do that we do, that starts getting into their rapport and trust circle. Make eye contact, very critical. You don't build rapport without looking into the eye, because looking into eye says, I'm listening to you, I'm talking to you, I'm paying attention to you. And that's what you smile is a wonderful thing, as You see, keep smiling because does anyone like a frowning face? Not really, right? So smile is a great thing, and please do that. And one example of a small talk is, "Hey, Mr. Single, my name is Vishal. How are you today? Is there anything?" If the person has come to your office, you could say, "Is there anything I can do before we begin? Would you like to have a cup of coffee, tea? Would you like to take a look at the office from outside?" So these are the small things that you can talk, and they go big way in building rapport and trust. So the next is to look at how can we do the visible tuning. And here I have the acronym SOLER, SOLER, picked up from one of the courses I did in my executive coaching. It basically says you need to sit square to the client. Square meaning facing 180 degrees. Square doesn't mean 90. You could sit at 90. That's also a decent posture. But ideal is to sit opposite the client and face the client squarely. Take an open posture. Open postures are like this is a closed posture. An open posture is like this, sitting quietly like this, or unfolded arms, because unfolded arms depict that you are willing to listen, you trust the other person, and more you are open, the other also person opens. And you will try this experiment during a conversation. If you suddenly you adopt this posture of a folded arm, you will slowly see the other person also slipping into that, and your conversation becoming very guarded. Whereas you have an open posture, your other person will also be in open posture, be more open, and your conversation and impression will flow much better. Lean at time forwards. Leaning at time forwards shows that you are interested in the person, and this is related to providing space to the people. We can't go on and sit like this over him and not give him his or her the personal space. Or you can't sprawl out like this and say, "Hey, you see, whatever you want to talk, you don't talk." And how can you create good impression with like maintaining good eye contact we talked about, and we try to be relatively relaxed and natural as we talked in the last lecture also. Relatively. What comes to you, where you feel comfortable, that's the posture that you need to adopt. Then if you're having a conversation, then you need to listen to any questions that has been asked. Or if you're inviting a question, then you need to wait for the answer. So listen to the question carefully. And if you have not understood the question carefully, ask, clarify, probe if needed. "Hey sir, can you please tell me what exactly do you have in mind when you say that you want to know this?" And restate your understanding, and by saying that, "Hey sir, this is what, hey ma'am, this is what I understand, hey John, this is what I understand, is this what you mean really by this question?" And that gets you lot more attention, lot more understanding, and that definitely creates a very favorable first impression. Once you have understood the question, if the conversation going typically, then you need to answer that right, and you need to answer with the right content. So if you need to think, ask for the time. If you say, "Hey, give me a little bit of time. Can I take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, half a minute?" Take your time to think. Structure your response in your mind or on a piece of paper as necessary. Bulleting is a great way to structure. So think about what are the 2, 3 things that you want to talk about and structure them on a piece of paper. Then you need to respond, and the key to good response that builds that good impression is to respond confidently. The confidence is what gets you the good impression. Accurately. Don't answer what other person has not asked for. Clearly and in short. The short is that anytime you are answering a question, it can maximum be 1.5 minutes with right feelings. You need to have your passion included in that response. And you could begin by stating the areas that you cover, that your structure pointed out in the form of bulletin. Cover these areas one by one and stay positive. Use positive words because positivity gets positive and you want a good impression. So you need to, if you start with positive words, you're likely to get good impression. If you use negative words, "No, I can't do this. Hey, sorry, this is not my cup of tea." Are you going to build a really good impression is the question I have for you. Lastly, is important part at the end of the conversation to confirm what the other person has understood from your response, and check if you have answered. If there was a question, have you answered the question fully? And make it a dialogue, the whole conversation. Don't hog the limelight of the conversation. Speak for not more than 90 seconds at a time. Ask questions, invite opinions, and that will create a massively good impression, I can tell you. The another thing that we have in creating relationship apart from social is a business relationship, and this is typically if you are in a sales situation and you want to meet a client for the first time and create a first good impression, cause first personal contact to go ahead and build your business. How do you do that? And here I will bring you my work excerpt from my work with one of the company that we did consulting, and where we gave them this model of how to create the first personal contact in developing business with the clients, and we coached the team in doing this for reasonably good success. So how do you start? To look at the middle column. There are other things that you can read, but basically you call your prospect, the person that you want to have the first personal contact, create a good impression. You pick up a phone and call, and you say something like this. If he or he is Mr. Shah, you say, "Hey sir, my name is Arun Singhal from Chris Flexiback Private Limited. Is it good time to talk to you for a few minutes?" So you seek permission, and that creates good impression. Then you state the reason for your call and say, "Hey sir, I understand you're currently using CCBs, corrugated boxes, for tertiary packaging for your baby oil. I have a small business case to present to you that can save you about 12 lakhs, 1200,000 rupees annually. Would you be interested, sir, for me to come over and meet you?" And that becomes again is a good thing to create a positive impression in business. Then once you go to the office as per the appointed time, you visit on offsite, and you make an offer whether you'd like to make a offsite visit or a call, or where would we like to meet. So you could say something like this: "Can we meet someday over a cup of tea so that I can share with you this personally? When and where shall we meet, sir?" So again, you asking questions, inviting opinions, and that creates hugely positive impression. Then once you have a meeting fix, you need to remember, you need to reconfirm the meeting time and venue in the morning of that meeting. And again, you could do something like this: "Hello, Mr. Shah. This is Arun Singhal from Chris Flexiback. I just wanted to confirm, sir, that we have a meeting today. So where and what are we good to go for our 12 o'clock meeting?" And once you get a confirmation, you go to the meeting, make an eye contact, smile, give your customer your business card, and and this is how you start forming a personal relationship. Start with a small talk, wait until you offered, as we talked about, pay attention to things, and that's how you build a first personal contact. Right. So having looked at this lecture in which we talked about how can you create a good first impression, what do we do next? So we have another lecture coming up for you, which can help you very well in building your interpersonal skills, called emotional intelligence. So in the next lecture, we will talk about how can you build how can you use emotional intelligence to build your interpersonal skills. So thank you so much for watching this first postscript lecture on creating good first impression. I hope you have learned something new again. You are enjoying it, and I do look forward to see you again in the next lecture.